Hey guys, Dr. Christy Ennis. Today we are going to go over a program for your shoulder that takes you right from the beginning, where you want to just chop that arm off, it's just a flesh wound, all the way to the end, where you're going to start to work on some strengthening to help support and stabilize that shoulder. Now the rotator cuff actually consists of 4 different muscles, and they have a bit of a different job for each one. They help to either rotate that shoulder out, in, out to the side, or even help to just stabilize that shoulder in the joint, especially as you move. Now, since there are 4, you could have a tear in any one of these muscles. More often than not, it's 1 or 2 versus all 4, thankfully, unless you happen to be that lucky person that tears them all. But what that typically means is that you will have some motion that feels fine and some that's really uncomfortable. So please, as we go through things today, really listen to your body and don't push through that pain. Now, the first exercise for today is called the pendulum, and this works for all of those muscles. It's a great one to do right in those beginning stages. So I'm going to support my body with my right hand and really just let that arm hang. You're going to go either back and forth, kind of like an elephant chunk, or forward and back, or in a circle, usually feels best to me. If that's too much still for that body, if you actually take your body and move instead of actually trying to move the arm, sometimes that's a little more gentle and a little more comfortable. It's all in the hips, right? Getting that little swing. So that's one that you can do anytime that arm feels uncomfortable, and it really helps to relieve some of that pain and tension. So no limit on the amount and the number that you're doing of those. Number 2 is getting some blood flow in all of those areas that might be restricted now that you've had that injury. So if we take that derma edge and we just do a little bit gentle pressure, you can do a little test, and whichever way is bumpiest is the direction you want to go in to help try to break some of that up. Remember, you want it to be gentle. No deep tissue massage yet here in the beginning of an injury, just blood flow going. So you just do this for a little bit of time till it feels, maybe a little, Calgon, take me away, like, and then you can go ahead and put that down. Exercise number 3 is at a table or a counter. I've got a foam roller. If you have one of those at home, grab that also. But you can use a rolling pin too and just wrap a towel around it. You're going to bring those arms in front of you, and I like to use both arms at the same time. It just helps a little bit with the comfort, and you're gently rolling out. That's why I'm using the foam roller, because that helps to actually get a little bit more motion. Again, you're only going out as far as you can without causing pain. Aim or goal is about 10 repetitions, roughly 2 to 3 times a day if you can fit that in. For exercise number 4, you need a strap, or I'll even have people use like their robe sash, and something a little bit higher to place it on. You can even use the hook on the back of a bathroom door. That works. I happen to be in a studio that has a bar, so I'm in luck. So again, left arm, right is my injured arm. I'm going to take the right arm, and the right arm's doing the work to help lift that left arm up. Now make sure when you're doing this exercise that you don't hike the shoulder, right? So you're only going as far as you can without pain, and that's okay if that means that's only there. You can also play around a little and go out to the side at an angle a touch, not directly out to the side, because that one actually usually does hurt. But both of these motions, and again, probably around 10 repetitions twice a day if you can. Exercise number 5 is what we call scapular retraction, but you don't need the big word for that. Just call it squeezing the shoulders back. It's much easier. So really what you want to think about doing that I think is easier is lengthening the collarbones out. So it's really kind of a down and back motion with those shoulder blades. And what this does is start to get those muscles working that actually help to support the shoulder, and it opens up that shoulder space and those chest muscles a little bit there. So if you can roughly do 5 repetitions or so, and this is one I like people to do almost every hour, because it breaks you out of this position so you're not putting strain through that area. All right, moving on to number 6 is actually a group of 3, but they all go together. So they're called isometric exercises, meaning you're strengthening or working on activating the muscles without going through a range of motion. So this is kind of step 1 of strengthening, and it helps to get blood flow going. So you'll keep that elbow in at your side, take your opposite hand, little jazz hand, to the outside of the forearm. And isometric, so I'm going to press this part of my arm out as my hand pushes in, and it's my own resistance, so you have control about how hard you are pushing. So again, don't push so it hurts, right? If you can push a little harder than you originally thought, great, but don't worry if you can't. Hold for about 5 seconds or so, roughly, right? And again, stick with that 10 repetition if you can. The next one will be the exact opposite. So now my left arm will push in, my right hand pushes out. And again, just meeting that opposing resistance. So not a ton of pressure here. Try not to hunch everything else up too as you do this. About 5 seconds or so, another 10 repetitions. And then the last one, I'm actually gonna bring this hand in front or in back. Whew, get my directions mixed up. Back here, pushing the elbow back and the arm forward. So just working on that shoulder extension a little. And you can even add that scapular retraction at the same time and get a double whammy. Exercise number 7 is going to be at the wall or a counter or a table. Wall is going to be the easiest place to start, and to make it more difficult, you just kind of drop yourself down to a lower surface. So make sure again that you've gone through some of these other exercises and your range of motion is improving before you start here. But I usually have people start shoulder height to a little bit lower, and all you're trying to do is just place a little bit of weight. So I'm shifting back and forth here to work on, again, getting some of that stabilization. So here too, you can add in, squeeze those shoulder blades back as you're rocking back and forth. And even, this one's a little harder sometimes, rounding those shoulders to get the serratus muscle going too at the same time that you're working on that stability. Again, make sure it doesn't hurt. If this is way too easy, you just drop it down a little bit further, okay? And again, 10 repetitions-ish. Use your best judgment on what feels okay. The next one you're going to want a band for, and you can attach this into the doorway, or again, I'm so super lucky that I have a little bar that I can hook things onto, but you can even put a knot in your band and close that door, which makes it pretty easy. So I'm going to grab in that left arm again. First step for this exercise is squeeze those shoulder blades back. You should be getting used to that by now. And then after I do that, I'm just going to let my elbow go along for the ride, and then add a little bit of a rotation. That rotation part actually activates those stabilizing muscles even more than just the plain old row. Now, if it's uncomfortable to add the rotation, that's okay. Just start with the row. But if you can, right, squeeze those shoulder blades, no hiking, elbow comes back, add that little bit of a rotation, 10 repetitions. This is just once a day for now. Exercise number 9, and now we're getting towards the end of our program here, is actually lying on the side, and you want a towel or a t-shirt or something you have handy that's soft that you can roll up. But again, going onto the side, I'm actually going to place this towel underneath my upper arm so that I can squeeze down with that upper arm, which takes out some of this big shoulder muscle and lets us focus on some of those smaller muscles. Now again, if you're just starting, there's probably going to be some significant weakness here. So you may want to start with just the range of motion part without adding any weight to it at all. So again, squeezing down, keep that upper arm down, and now I'm just moving that forearm, not the wrist, and I'm not lifting my arm away from the body. Again, rotating that shoulder, right? So this definitely comes later on in the program, but it's a great way to start to build some strength. And again, if that's easy and feels perfectly comfortable, go ahead and put a weight in your hand. I'd start with a light weight, like a 2-pound weight or a 1-pound weight even. And again, 10 repetitions, and now this one is every other day because we don't want to fatigue those muscles out. That's pretty darn important. And I will link a video also that has other rotator cuff strengthening exercises in it, so that once you get to this point, you got even more choices. All right, one more exercise to go, and this honestly is one of my favorites that I tend to do pretty often myself, now that my shoulder's feeling better. So if you have a band, and you can take just a long strand of band, that rhymes, and then tie a knot in the middle, there's nothing wrong with that, but I love these loop bands. I'll link that below also. But squeezing those shoulder blades, of course, elbows right in at your side. Now you're gonna go and do a little bit of rotation out with those arms, and then holding that position, shoulder blades and that resistance in the band, you're gonna lift up, right? So I'm not letting go and doing this. It's squeeze, open, and lift. So you're not gonna lift super duper high. Now we're getting into some of that lower part of the trapezius, which is also a stabilizing muscle. So there you have it, a whole program that I hope really helps make you feel a lot better really soon. Thank you so much for watching today. If you would like to support me as well as reduce some pain and get rid of the appearance of that cellulite, click the link below to order your own Derma Edge, a device that I created and patented when I was going through the middle of Lyme disease in a lot of pain and needed a way to work on my own body. So the shape of the Derma Edge allows you to get all body parts in a gentle way. We're getting that fluid moving in between the layers, which helps you move better, helps get rid of that pain, and decreases that bumpiness of the cellulite. So make sure to click the link below to order your own.